What you are about to see was real life. Fauci and Mayor Bowser were knocking on doors like block captains, pushing jabs like they moving weight. If you thought this was about health, you haven't been paying attention. Check this out.
People in America are not settled with the information that's been given to us right now. So I'm not going to be lining up taking a shot or a vaccination for something that wasn't clear in the first place. And then you all create a shot in miraculous time. It takes years to create vaccination.
Well, it used to take years.
Okay, it used to.
You know how many years were invested in this approach? About 20 years of science to get us to be able to do it.
20 years is not enough. And 9 months is definitely not enough for nobody to be taking no vaccination that you all came up with.
The only reason I'm talking to you right now, as close as we are, is that I've been vaccinated.
Right.
But if it allows thousands of people like you don't get vaccinated, you're going to let this virus continue to percolate in this country and in this world.
Something like the common flu then, right?
And not
it's
like
much
the common
more
flu.
serious than the flu.
Well, the flu kills a lot of people annually too.
You know how many people died of the flu the last year? I mean, not this year, virtually none, but the previous year, about 20 to 30,000. You know how many people have died from COVID-19 in the United States? 600,000 Americans.
Well, the number that you all given that died, that's once again, that's you all's number.
You gonna pass?
Yeah, definitely. Because when you start talking about paying people to get vaccinated, when you start talking about incentivizing things to get people vaccinated, there's something else going on with that. Something else going on.
It is something going on.
There's something else.
You're right. But I'm glad millions of people like me and most everybody here didn't get an incentive. You know what their incentive was? Protecting their health and protecting the city. But I won't keep you anymore.
It's okay, because my incentive, y'all campaign is about fear. It's about inciting fear in people. You all attack people with fear. That's what this pandemic is. It's a fear. It's fear, this pandemic. That's all it is.
Now you see what it really was. No science involved, just straight up pressure tactics. If you want more, get the Fauci Files. Fauci's dirty secrets exposed. Straight truth, no sugarcoat. The link's in the description. Welcome back to What's the 411 News, where we bring you news observation, interpretation, and news commentary from an FBA and BGR perspective. Let's get it. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to What's the 411 News. And you guys see it on the screen right now. Looks like Detroit's Reparations Task Force is remixing the claims, all right? So we're going to take a look and see what's going on, all right? So let's dig in real quick and see what is really going on. It seems like a lot of Reparations Task Force from different cities is sabotaging a lot of the reparations claims, all right, with the wording and with who they put in and on them task force. All right, so yeah, let's dig into it, man. So again, it's breaking news, if you will. Detroit Task Force releases report recommendations. All right. And it says to be eligible for reparations, the task force says a person must be a descendant. I always say pay attention to the words, right? Pay attention to words and how they structure things, right? So they're saying that a person must be a descendant of an African enslaved in the U.S. Notice how they put African enslaved in the U.S. or in the diaspora. That's a new one on me. Now they want to add the diaspora in it, all right? At least 21 years old and a current resident of Detroit for at least 20 years, okay? That was November 13th. All right, the Detroit Reparations Task Force has released its report and recommendations to address past and present harms. All right, so let's dig a little bit deeper here real quick. All right. Let's dig a little bit deeper here. So Detroit Reparations Task Force releases report recommendations. The Detroit Reparations Task Force has released its report and recommendations to address past and present harms targeting the city's Black residents. The Detroit Reparations Task Force again released this report, and I'm going to get into it. The report documents historical atrocities against people of African descent. Notice how they will not put in Black American thus far. Everything is worded with the word African. And you got to ask yourself, why is that? To me, it seems like they're trying to constantly have a campaign of erasing any Black American history, any accomplishments that's happened in the United States of America. Constant erasure tactics, all right? Constant erasing or erasure tactics through words, through visuals, through other people, putting them in, just like you playing chess, putting them in certain positions to constantly figure out a way or to propagandize the erasure of Black Americans, foundational Black Americans, freedmen's, Negro, et cetera, right? So the report documents historical atrocities against people of African descent since before the founding of the city through the present day. We have been guided as a task force, and I wonder who was on the task force, by the way, by our understanding that the wealth and imperialist power of the United States may be attributed directly to profits generated by the enslavement of our ancestors through the slave trade, chattel slavery, peonage, and prison labor, the report states. In colonial America and the United States, extraction of Black labor, there's the word Black mentioned there, and the violence with which this extraction was conducted. Let me read that one again. In colonial America, the United States, extraction of Black labor and the violence with which this extraction was conducted ensured the accumulation of wealth by whites, so that their heirs today continue to enjoy economic security and prosperity. For African Americans, aka Black Americans, aka foundational Black Americans, aka freedmen, these systems impose unrelenting physical and social harms, unshakable poverty, and the underdevelopment of our communities throughout the U.S. and here in our city, meaning the city of Detroit. The municipal government was complicit in the dehumanization and dispossession of Black people through laws and policies such as redlining, racially restrictive zoning, urban renewal, highway construction, predatory tax foreclosure, and racist policing. All right. At the same time, the task force reiterated the need for federal, state, and private sector action to address the damage wrought by systemic racism. The Detroit City Council passed a resolution in 2022 authorizing creation of the Reparations Task Force to document harms and develop remedies for Black residents after voters approved the step via ballot measure the previous year. The 13-member body held a number of public input sessions and an online survey allowing people to rank their top policy priorities. So let's check out and see what those policies are. The task force resulting recommendations include, among others, providing financial assistance of up to $40,000 for the purchase of a home in Detroit, or up to $30,000 for home repairs to people impacted by discriminatory housing policies. Constructing at least 1,000 new affordable housing units for African Americans. Establishing a grant program providing $100,000 to businesses displaced by urban renewal projects. Demilitarizing the Detroit police and paying restitution to individuals or heirs for injury or death due to police abuses. Offering free community college tuition to all DPSCD high school graduates. Now, before we go on, I'm just taking a look at that and just kind of soaking it in for a sec. Just a little bit before I go on. Constructing at least 1,000 new affordable housing units. But if you would give money, because it says providing financial assistance of up to $40,000 for the purchase of a home. And then you're saying constructing at least 1,000 new affordable housing units for African Americans. So that almost seems like when it says providing financial assistance, like you're giving a loan, as opposed to giving money that is owed for all those years of free labor. You want to provide financial assistance to purchase a home, or up to $30,000 for home repairs. If you already have a home, you can get up to $30,000 for home repairs. Is that $30,000 have to be paid back? Because just the wording makes it feel as if it's like they're giving a loan out and eventually you have to pay it back. So that already seems real shaky right there, to be honest with you. That's real shaky to me. Establishing a grant program providing $100,000 to businesses displaced by urban renewal. That's cool. It's a grant, but definitely shouldn't be the only thing. Demilitarizing the Detroit police. I'm guessing removing some of the equipment they have that is more military based, as if they was going to be fighting in Iraq, but they're using it on the city streets, I guess is what they're trying to say. Demilitarizing the Detroit police and paying restitution to individuals or the heirs of those who were injured or killed due to police abuses. That's cool too. Offering free community college tuition. College should be free. That should be all part of the reparations thing. So that's cool. But the funny thing is the money situation. They're always getting funny with the money. You know what I'm saying? So creating a Detroit food sovereignty and nutrition equity fund. Creating a Detroit food sovereignty and a nutrition equity fund. They always trying to tell you what to do with the money, instead of just giving you the money and let you do what you want to do with the money. That's what it seems like to me. Designating environmental reparation zones eligible for enhanced monitoring, remediation, and community-controlled redevelopment. Launching a city office of African American cultural programs. launching a city office of African American cultural programs, Black American cultural programs. Yeah, I just let this stuff soak in, but you got to hear this last thing here. The Detroit City Council is also urged to create a reparations administrative office to oversee reparations programs. The Detroit City Council is also urged to create a reparations administrative office. So the city council create that administrative office, the reparations administrative office, to oversee reparations programs, including direct, okay, they mentioned direct cash payment compensation for certain harms. For certain harms. Oh, man. To be eligible for reparations, the task force says a person must be a descendant of an African enslaved in the U.S. or in the diaspora. See how they funneled that in there? See how they put it in there where you can be a descendant of an African enslaved in the U.S. or a descendant of someone enslaved, African, I guess, in the diaspora, anywhere around the world. That seems like you're trying to funnel in Africans on the continent, Caribbeans, when they have their own reparations they can get, I think, from the British and maybe the French. The Africans can get their own claims for being colonized in Africa, but you want to put the reparations and add them in all in together. Not only the descendants of those who were enslaved in the U.S., but in the diaspora too. At least 21 years old. You got to be also, they're saying, eligible, and a current resident of Detroit for at least 20 years. So is that all of those together? They have to fit all of them, or you can fit whatever pieces of that particular eligibility. So can you just be 21 years old, or you have to be 21 years old and a descendant of an African enslaved? Can you be 21 years old and a descendant of someone in the diaspora? They don't have to be an African enslaved in the U.S. And as long as you had 20 years in Detroit. Real slick. See, the slick wording is going on. Real slick wording going on. And so here we go again with the games they play. Just like Dick Gregory would say, the games they play. Right? Here we go again. The constant task force being created and the constant sabotaging through these task force. Always trying to funnel other people in who don't have a claim for the reparations in the United States. You want to bring everybody in. I remember Biden said something about as long as the Indians can get some, right? Now here in Detroit, they're talking about descendants of the diaspora as well. But like I said, those Caribbeans got a claim with someone else. Africans got their claim with someone else. The U.S. can actually claim and get money from everybody around the world. Africans that enslaved us and had us sit, and we end up getting sent here, some of us. You got that. The people that were already in the U.S. before slavery, and then they were turned into slaves and sent other places, right? I think the French had a little something to do with it in the U.S. The Brits had something to do with it. I think everybody owes us. And that might be the reason why they're trying to funnel everybody else in to try to get some of the bag. But you guys let me know what you think about this one, man. And once again, we got another task force out here playing games, man. And it's always seemed like they slipping it in. They slipping different people in and not really getting who they should be getting, which is Black Americans on these task force. So that's what it is, man. This is What's the 411 News. Be sure to put your thoughts in the comments and let us know what you think, man. We'll be back on the next one. I'm out. Peace.
Welcome back to What's the 411 News, where we bring you news observation, interpretation, and news commentary from an FBA and BGR perspective. Let's get it.